Hello.
Hi.
How are
Hello.
you?
I am fantastic. How are you? It's so good to see your face again.
No, I was thinking that when we were joining, I was like, I'm just genuinely excited to chat to Shelly. Like, I feel like I'm going to forget we're on Instagram Live.
I know. Me too.
You have to remember, anyone who's with us right now, like, Shelly did the intensive too. So for 7 weeks, we spent every Sunday together.
8 hours together.
8 hours.
Yeah.
We get to know each other very deeply, very quickly. So obviously I know who you are, Shelly, but for everyone else, do you mind just sharing a little bit about yourself and introducing yourselves?
Of course. Hello, everybody. It's amazing to be here with you. I'm Shelly. I'm the founder of an amazing manifestation program where I work with moms who are in high stress, very demanding careers and who might be feeling unfulfilled, stuck, stressed, and honestly trapped by their paycheck, and who are ready to spiritually manifest more money, more meaning, and more fulfillment in their career. So that's what I do. And Jess, if you want, I can share a bit more about my story and my background. Let me know.
Go for it. Share it. Share about what led you to this moment, and then we'll go from there.
Fantastic. Okay, so I've been told I have a rather unique background when it comes to being a manifestation teacher. That is because I spent 14 years, and for most of my adult life, I identified and had the identity of a high-performing tech professional. So I spent 14 years working at Google. I started working for Google in India, and then I moved to Ireland, and then I moved to the US. And honestly, when I was in that place, I loved it. I loved everything about my job. I loved the massages. I loved the food. I loved the lifestyle, the flying, the slides, the flying, flying around, managing teams in different parts of the world. But I was also somebody who had what can be described as perfectly hidden depression and anxiety. And I honestly thought that that's just how life is, because for me, this started very young, where stemming from childhood trauma. So I just thought that's how life is for everybody. I didn't know any other way. And then in 2019, I became a mom. And right after that, the pandemic hit. Right after that, my marriage imploded. So I was in a space where I had to really through a very painful experience in my life, I had to figure out, like, what do I want my life to be about? What is purpose to me? What does abundance mean to me? Like, I didn't even know. I didn't have the answers to any of these questions, but I was determined to find out. And that's when I found manifestation. And when I started applying the principles of manifestation, my life began to change very dramatically, very quickly. And I was hooked. And I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. I want to learn everything I can about this. So Yes Supply is one of the programs I've done, but I'm also a somatic coach. I'm a breathwork facilitator and, manifestation expert. So layering on all of these things. So fast forward to today, I am living my dream life. I recently quit my very high paying, but job at Google, and now I've transitioned to truly living and being in my purpose and helping other moms create the same abundance and create this transition for themselves.
Thank you for sharing your story. I think you're a wonderful example of how our mixture of students come from all walks of life, but we often have that same little nudge within, that there's something more, and it's often that part of yourself that you've just hidden beneath a role, a job, or whatever it looks like. I know we can all relate to that part of your story. And I do think it's quite unique for you, having been in such a tech role and corporate, to kind of transition over to manifestation specifically. But what I love about that is that you have an authority about you when you coach. Obviously, I've watched you coach a lot. You have a natural way of delivering it that we know in the training, with tonality and everything we learn in the EFT Supply method is very natural to you, actually, because of your experience. So I think it's another example of how your journey is a part of who you are and what you can offer to the world, right?
Absolutely. And, for me, that's what I loved honestly about the intensive method. Like spending those 8 hours on like multiple Sundays embodied in that identity, you know, and my cohort, right? Like the group was so amazing that you really get into this space where if you have doubts or you have questions or you're like, oh, is this, you know, for me, or what am I doing? Like you leave them so far behind by the time you're even done with graduation. I think that's, it's an incredible gift. And I also want to share one part of my story, which is that while, you know, my journey started at the point where my marriage imploded, I'm still married today to the same person. And I could not have predicted that. So that was a side effect, if you will, of the manifestation work and doing the inner work.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's really beautiful. And I think it's obviously a part of your journey that was very divine to kind of feel like everything was going like that. And so you had to look inwards. And the lesson there is that we all actually have the answers within, but often we're waiting for tragedy or something to kind of wake us up.
I know.
And I think that the message I got from you is like, let's do it now, you know?
Yeah. Let's do it now. I mean, it is true, you know, as people, we are sometimes more motivated by pain than by pleasure. It doesn't have to be that way. It just was that way for me because I was in my comfort zone, right? Like I didn't even know it because my job was so demanding. It was so high stress. I was doing all of these things. It did not feel like my comfort zone, but ultimately stepping out of it into, and part of my life that, you know, I had that desire for, I had that true, real dream for, that's kind of what expanded and opened things up.
No, thank you for sharing. So you mentioned, and I'll just fill anyone in who's watching, you mentioned that you did the intensive. So when you join the Yes Supply method, you have kind of a few options. You can do 90 minutes a week for your classes. That takes you 25 weeks. You can do 3 hours a week. That takes you 18 weeks. Or twice a year, I run a 7-week intensive, which is 8 hours on a Sunday with the same group, the same trainer, which was me. And it is, you know, by definition, intense. What made you decide, and I want to know, to do Yes Supply? Because you were already experienced, you were already doing work, you were already out there and coaching and, you know, in many ways. What made you say yes to the experience, and what encouraged you to choose the intensive?
Yeah, I'm happy to share that. So I came across Reese on a podcast, I forget which one. And when I heard her speak about, you know, Yes Supply and what her mission was and what her goal was, I loved everything about it. I loved her energy. I loved her mission. I loved that she was really, and Yes Supply and all of what you trainers do too is like encouraging folks to say yes to their dreams, right? To say yes to themselves. And I was like, okay, this is amazing. I love her. And I went to the website. I checked out the website. I had a few questions. I had a call with Olivia to get them clarified. And I think maybe within 3 days, like I was signed up, and it was just, I didn't even follow Yes Supply on social, you know, I didn't do that. I didn't do any of it. I just knew. And also what I was doing very actively at the time was, you know, and this part is important to share for anybody. I was embodying the identity of who I wanted to be. So I was like, I know this. There's a gut feeling within me that this is for me. I love this person. I love the mission. I'm going to say yes to it. So I didn't spend a lot of time, you know, going over the decision, but I didn't always used to be that way.
Right.
I remember the first time I ever, you know, invested in myself, in my skills, I agonized over the decision.
Right.
I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Do I have time for this? Can I do this? All of these things, right? But it stacks and it grows. So once you start moving in that direction, it's really helpful. And why I chose the intensive is because I'm an all-in kind of girl. So I was like, okay, I'm doing this. So let me just do the intensive. And looking back, I think it was just so fantastic. It was challenging creating that time in the schedule, but the fact that we are so immersed and we are in there for hours together with the same group, it's honestly, that was probably one of my favorite parts about it.
And we had such a great group, didn't we? Like,
we did. Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
I just love the way groups come together, and we had such a everybody was so different, but it just gelled so beautifully. And, you know, yeah, it was great to have you in it. I want to know then, you mentioned you love the group dynamic, you love the intensive part of it. I would love to know what you're most proud of yourself for in the journey.
Yeah, I think there were so many different things. But the thing that comes to me right now is probably also the thing that I shared in our graduation, which was so special, was that, you know, I'm really proud of saying yes and to myself and to the direction that I wanted to move in, and really moving forward and dedicating, you know, both my time, money, energy to it and moving forward in that direction. So I feel, so I'm very proud of that. And of course, I learned, you know, got mastery over a number of different very, very powerful techniques and skills. So I'm very excited to layer these on to what I have in my program. I'm coming out with the new version of my program this month, next month. And I'm so excited to be able to truly create a transformative program for the women that I work with. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you for sharing. So you mentioned the tools. What would you say is your favorite? Do you have a favorite?
I do. And this tool was my favorite even before I joined the program, because I had experienced this, you know, as a client before, and that's the neural energetic encoding.
Okay.
And it's so powerful. The first time I ever did it in my own life, when I was not coaching, but I was really, you know, being a client in that situation, it was so powerful. I was blown away. I was like, this is amazing. And I still, to this day, like, it's been years and years, to this day, I remember the lessons I got from that session.
Wow.
So it's fantastic. It's something that comes up for me. You know, I think about those lessons and go deeper in them. So to be able to really get that mastery, to share that with my clients and to, you know, give them that gift, I love it. I also love the hypnotherapy part of it. That's, again, something that I use in my daily life. Like, I see a hypnotherapist and I'm a client to others in that context. So I love it. It's very powerful for subconscious programming, and honestly, very little effort.
Yeah. That's great.
You don't have to do much, right? And I also love anchoring a lot.
You do, yeah. I love anchoring too. It's so hard to pick, isn't it? I think you explained them really well. What would you say was your like biggest personal breakthrough during learning these? Because I think what people forget is you're signing up to a certification, but you're not only you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, you're also being coached every week, because you are the coach and the client for your other students. So did you have any personal breakthroughs, do you feel?
Absolutely. And I in one of our practice sessions, you know, with one of the other coaches, it was just so incredible. Like, I don't know if you can see it here, but I have a wall of Post-its, and it's so powerful that the lesson that I actually put it up over there, and it says, like, I am here to serve. It's not about me. So that was one of my personal big breakthroughs that came through to me in one of the coaching sessions that I was in with the cohort. And it was so powerful. And I think that is really a guiding force for how I'm approaching everything in my business, but also my life.
Yeah, and I actually love that in a manifestation as well, like which we talk about in the embodiment module, and Reese speaks about a lot, and I'm sure you do too. Is like when we attach the meaning to something greater than ourselves as well. It's like, yeah, it's not about you, because it helps you show up. It certainly helps me show up on days where I'm not feeling confident or I'm doubting myself, that actually people need to hear what you have to say, and it's almost becomes like your duty to show up and shine, because you're serving in the process. So I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And exactly what you said, right? Like, in the process of, sometimes we're sitting and questioning ourselves, like, is my voice needed, right? Like, there are so many more competent people, or there could be, you know, others who can do this better. But while those dreams and goals are coming through you, like, if you have the perspective that this is, you know, in a way they are Shelly's goals and Shelly's dreams and Shelly's desires, but it's also not about me. It's about the women that I am serving, that I will serve. And it's about the change I can bring to them.
I agree. I maybe even said it in the cohort, but I often think, imagine if Reese had doubted herself, not said yes, then like none would have even been in that cohort. Like the ripple effects that we get to experience when we have the courage, and that is courage to say yes to yourself, is brave, you know. So I love the work you're doing. I know you're going to create so much impact. How would you say it's affected your business and how you show up?
For me, as I mentioned, the embodiment piece was just fantastic. And I, truly, there was a change after the graduation. Of course, I had the certifications and all of those fun stuff, but it was really the feeling inside and the encouragement. And the fact that I can layer on and stack on these incredibly powerful tools and modalities for the women that I'm serving and the women that I'm working with and my current clients, I think it's life-changing. It is life-changing for them, for sure. Yeah.
I love that. Would you say, because I know a lot of people want confidence and they want to feel, we have these goals, we want to go out there and coach people, but it's actually quite daunting sometimes to hold space for people. Would you say that even though the intensive was only 7 weeks, that you left feeling confident and ready to apply the tools with your clients? Like, how did you feel?
I feel that specifically, and I don't have the experience of the non-intensive, so I can only speak from my experience, but I feel the fact that because the intensive was so immersive, right? It wasn't necessarily about the number of weeks. It was about how you are showing up. So you have this beautiful container, right, which is so supportive, and just is there, and your cohort is there, and we're all embodying, and we're sometimes trying on new things, and we're trying on new ways. You're learning and growing so much, and you are so embodied in those sessions. If you set that intention, you really are bringing that presence to it, that I felt that was specifically the thing that really propelled me to the next level. So I actually think that was the reason.
I'm glad you said it, because I completely agree. I was just saying to someone the other day, all the routes are amazing. Don't get me wrong, I teach all of them. There's something about the intensive, though, that I think because it is so immersive, all of the graduates from the intensive always go flying after. They go straight into business. They go straight, because I don't think you can help, but you can't be in that energy for 8 hours for 7 weeks and not be motivated and not be embodied. Like, it's almost impossible. Even I come away from it being like, let's go.
I know.
I
know. And I remember, the session that we had, the full transformative session that we have to do with your peers. And I remember the coaching I received in that session too. And that's not the one I mentioned before. So these sessions are so powerful and so transformative, because you're there, you're ready, you're open. There's a lot of trust with your cohort. I remember the lessons from there. And that was the day of graduation. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I felt so ready, and I do, we anchored in some feelings. So I go back to them. I go back to those feelings when I'm about to take on a new task or a new challenge. And I'm like, no, this is what I'm here for. So it's very real. Yeah.
I love that. Would you say there's anything from the conversational stuff we learned, so like in those early modules, would you say there's anything that you've learned that you kind of use within your personal life now? So I'm going totally off. I'm just saying.
Totally fine. Oh my gosh, I'm laughing because this question, and you'll learn these books if and when you sign up, and that is, what specifically? So I'm like, always, now what specifically about that? It's like, oh, this is annoying or whatever. I'm like, what specifically is annoying, right? So I feel like those questions that we learn are incredibly powerful, and not just for the coaching session that you are in, but also everything around building your business, right? How you are selling, how you are, showing up on social media, other elements as well. You can really use those as the keys to unlock so many different things. And in my personal life, like, I'm sure, I don't know if my husband's watching this, but like, he'll get it now. He's like, what specifically about that is annoying to you?
Well, you can't help but apply it everywhere, right? It's so interesting. Once you know the way the mind responds to language, you can't live the same way anymore. Like, even when you think about, I have a toddler, so when I think about, well, the subconscious mind doesn't process negatives, so rather than saying stop doing that. Don't do that. Sometimes you just have to say stop, don't get me wrong, but I'll start by saying how I want him to do it. Hey, let's do it this way, can you know? And it's just like, it creates a great impact everywhere in your life, I think.
Absolutely. And I want to touch on that just because, you know, the program, right? You learn so much about the way the mind works and the subconscious mind works. So if you do have children, especially in that age group, and I have an almost 5-year-old, I feel so blessed, like truly blessed and grateful that I have this knowledge. I have this knowledge at a time where I can hopefully, you know, download some positive templates for my son, because really my entire journey started with the goal of serving him and being the best mom for him. So to be able to have those tools. So some of the things that I practice with my son is like before going to bed, like we do affirmations for what I want to encourage in him. And there's so many different things that you learn that you can apply, not just in the business part of your life, but to your children, you know, to help others around you experience all of that goodness too. Yeah.
Oh, you're so right. Thank you for sharing. And you're definitely being a shining example to him. And I know that you'll continue to be. I mean, I often think about, wow, what are these children going to be like when they're adults? Imagine if we had learned this stuff when we were kids.
Yeah.
You know, so incredible. Is there any other big breakthroughs or takeaways or best bits that you would like to share with us before we finish up?
For me, I think, you know, there are a lot of breakthroughs and there are a lot of wins. So on a personal side, I just came off, you know, a trip from Costa Rica that I manifested, which I was kind of on my mind for 2 years, but I didn't have the time for it before in my schedule. And taking like a 4-week, you know, almost a 4-week vacation to just be and nurture myself and nurture my soul. And that, again, for me, links back to the embodiment piece of it, right? To know what you need and to be able to give yourself, like not coming from a place of scarcity, but truly just showing up for yourself from a place of love in whatever way that looks like for you. And the second thing is I also, you know, recently, I love celebrating my clients. Recently, one of my students had the most amazing, audacious dream that she set for herself and for her career come true. She calls it, these are her words, like, this is not just my dream, but the most audacious version of my dream that has come true, with, you know, bringing forth like financial abundance, like a 5-figure bonus that came out of the blue, like not expected. It was actually said, no go, never gonna happen. And then she got it. And manifesting a new role at a higher level when she'd been stuck in the same position for many years before that. So I think the opportunity to be able to do that and serve, you know, of course, it's the clients and the students who are creating this for themselves, but to be able to play a small role in facilitating that is just so incredibly fulfilling.
I can see it in you how much you love it, and that makes me so happy because I know you had an amazing career at Google. I know you were great at what you do, but I'm not sure if I had met you then, if your eyes would be lighting up the way they are now, when you speak about the work you do. So I am so happy for you. I'm so grateful you said yes. I'm so grateful you were in the intensive. If anybody watching, listening to Shelly's experience wants to join an intensive, I do have one in October. So you'd be a graduate by the end of the year in 7 weeks. And we also have 3 other cohorts this year that you can join. So feel free to DM us, or if you want to jump on a call with myself or Olivia to ask about the intensive, and if it's right for you, then feel free. And Shelly, where can people follow you and find out more about what you're doing?
Instagram is a great place to do that. And I feel like, I'll be posting the details of my upcoming program on Instagram, and I can, once you get there, you can, I'll be sharing details on my program and my website on Insta. So that's great.
Thank you. I can't wait to see all that comes true for you moving forward. And if anybody's thinking about saying yes to themselves, Shelly, like be it the Yes Apply method or anything that they're thinking of doing, what would be your final words to them?
I think, what I really want to say is that never, ever, ever, ever undervalue the power of your dreams. It truly has the potential to change your life, the life of those around you. And it can be scary, but that's also the fun part. You know, if we were here to just do the same thing that we've always done, it just would not be as fulfilling. So really going forth, being bold, being courageous. And these are lessons I have learned in my own life. You know, it's scary. It's scary to give up that career. It's scary to move in a completely different direction. But when you say yes to yourself and are willing to take the steps, the universe rewards you in ways you cannot imagine, truly. So be bold, move forward, and create the change that you want to see in the world.
Oh, I have chills. I'm so ready for TED Talk, by the way. Like, when is that happening? Like, can we manifest that? Because I just love everything you have to share. Thank you so much for coming live with me today.
Thank you, Jen.
Everyone, go ahead, follow Shelly. She's doing amazing work. And if you have any questions for us or for myself, just DM us. I'm happy to jump on a call. And thank you, Shelly. Have a beautiful day. Also, can I add, what time did you get up for the intensive?
Oh, yes, everybody. I used to wake up at 4. No, it started at 4, I think. So it was like I was waking up at 3:30. So 3:30 a.m.
Started at 4 a.m. And let's tell you and Amy, and I think someone else even was starting at 4 a.m. because it started at 12. The same for October. It's going to start at 12 my time, so midday in the UK. So I think it's like 7 a.m. in EST, and it's 4 a.m. PST. And let me tell you, these people were waking up and they were ready to go. They were not hanging about. Like, that is commitment. And so you know, thank you for showing up in the way you did with the intensive. And I on our graduation with the intensive, the energy has to be high. We have to hold each other up. It's long days. Our brains break sometimes because we're learning so much stuff. We're practicing, we're pushing ourselves, and you all brought the energy. I couldn't have created that space without all the magical humans that were there.
And I want to tell anybody who's, considering this, that I'm sure all the trainers at Yes Supply are amazing. And I've spoken to a few people from the team. I've attended different sessions. But if you're thinking about it, go with Josh. Our session was so incredible. Like, and, I didn't really do like a connect session. I was like, intensive. Okay, that's great. Let's do it. But it turned out so perfectly. So, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for creating that energy. I learned so much about how you helped the group, how you nurtured the group, how you facilitated it. And I'm really going to be applying, and I am applying those principles in my program as we speak. So thank you so much.
Thank you. That means a lot. I'm very, very grateful for that. And it's making me really excited for my next intensive group now, actually, because I've missed you all so much. Don't get me wrong, that first Sunday, it was nice to relax. But after that, I miss them now.
It's like, what do I do with all of this time?
Crazy. Thank you so much, and I will share this everywhere. And if anybody hasn't already, go ahead and follow Shelly, and we'll chat again soon.
Yes, I love you, Jess.
Love you.
Bye-bye, everybody. Bye. Thank you. Bye.